UFC 265 has gotten its big, presumably headlining bout, at least a title fight added to it, you guys, happening on August 7th, summertime. UFC 265 yet to have a location, but we're getting the return of Amanda Nunes defending her bantamweight title against the Venezuelan vixen, Julianna Pena. So we kind of expected this a little bit from what we were hearing. Pena lost. Holly Holm is her opponent. But now it is out there. It is official. Let's start with you, Matt. Initial reaction to this matchup. Do you like it? Thoughts overall? Let me hear it.
My initial reaction was Amanda Nunes can no longer duck the Venezuela vixen. It's happening. It's going down. Listen, I like the fight because it's a fresh matchup, and Amanda has another name to add to the resume, is the way I'm looking at it, essentially. Julianna is going to be an interesting case because she will provide the most spiciest of commentary in the lead up to this fight, unlike anyone else outside of Chris Cyborg. Holly Holm's too respectable. Jermaine doesn't talk trash to anyone. Neither does Felicia or Megan. So I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic to the fight. Probably the most interesting aspect to the fight will be the lead up in the trash talk that will come out of it. But X's and O's inside the cage, I think, a lot of us would agree on how this will play out. But just in terms of overall excitement, I'm not mad at it. And I'm actually kind of glad that we get to see Amanda face someone new.
I mean, I guess it's this division is just so bad. Like, I mean, Pena's got a 3rd round sub over Sara McMann, and that's how she got this title shot. It's pretty terrible when you look at it in terms of the person right now with the longest win streak in the division is, I believe, Carol Rosa and Penny Kinzad. They're both tied for the longest win streak with 3 right now. And both of them are ranked outside the top 10. And yes, Drake, I butchered those names and I don't care.
You got the first
Even
one.
though, okay, well, I'll take 1 out of 2. Ain't bad if it's baseball. And so when it comes to Pena, yes, she talked her way into this. Yes, it will be a more exciting build-up than normal. I do agree with that. She is probably the best option in terms of some trash talking before the fight, but this is going to be a slaughter. I don't know where Pena is going to challenge Nunes any more than we've seen anyone else fight, especially given her last couple fights, right? It's going to be just a mauling. And if you're going to just, continually feed Amanda Nunes contenders because she's running out of them at this point, at least feed her somebody like Yana Kunitskaya, who has 2 wins in a row, and so maybe has a little bit more merit, or hell, give her Pena or Rosa even. You gave Bisping, Hendo, why not one of those two? Because at least they both have 3 fight wins. I just don't understand why this is happening other than, hey, she's going to trash talk. So I hate it. I hate it all. I hate the 135 women's division in the UFC. That's just how I feel about it.
So, yeah, I don't really feel much for it either. As you mentioned, Yana Kunitskaya right there. I think if you were to go with anybody that is most logical, I guess, in this barren wasteland, it would be her. And of course, we do have GDR, who just really recently submitted Pena ahead of her. And then Holly Holm, who, even you could argue she could get it if she wasn't out of the fight with Pena originally. And, also has recently lost to Nunes. Both of them have recently lost to Nunes, her and GDR. But, that's just what we're working with here. So we know why it's happening, because Pena is going to stir up this buzz, and that's good and fun. But her trash talking, it doesn't do it for me. Like, it's just so extreme in a way that isn't believable for me. I'm not a fan of it, but hey, more power to you. It will be another person for Amanda to fight at bantamweight, add to her continually building title defenses record and whatnot. But when it comes to this fight, guys, I think that this is a good question, especially for you, Pat, who just hates this whole thing. But Matt, I'm going to start with you. I said at the beginning here, we're not sure if this is the main event yet. It's the first fight for UFC 265, but because of what Pena is bringing to this matchup, and maybe could get some heat from Nunes. We'll see. She's been really kind of laughing it off so far, but is this matchup enough to carry this event?
I would. I don't. I mean, honestly, I'm torn on that because I think Amanda could, given the buildup. Like I said, because we that's been missing from her recent fights, right? Like there's been just this idea that she's just going to go out there and wreck everybody, and her opponents haven't really been talking trash and kind of making the viewers believe that there's actually something there. They've all just kind of shown up. Yeah, she's a great fighter. Yeah, she's the GOAT. But it's my turn. And like it's just like generic stuff we hear out of them. Julianna Pena is going to be a lot different. So I think depending on how much she wants to lean into that aspect, it could be enough to carry the card, especially considering, you know, what they tack on below it as well in terms of the undercard, even though, as Pat will, I'm sure, bring up, it's all about the main event when it comes to ticket sales. But still, you know, the general buzz on social media is built on when people are sending multiple tweets out saying, oh, this is such a stacked card, such a stacked card. If you're going to put Amanda in the main event, you got to have some really big fights, potentially maybe another one of those 5-round non-title co-mains or something like that. Maybe even get crazy with that again. Who knows? But I think depending on how much Julianna wants to lean into her trash talk, you know, let's not forget, this is a lady, I think, one of the first opponents Amanda has faced that has a rap sheet. Let's not forget about her brawl incidents, her misdemeanor charges, kicking dudes in the nuts in a bar back in 2015, I believe that was. So yeah, she's got some fight in her. She's a little scrappy one. So we'll see how it plays out, I guess.
So I no, you can't, no, just not even anywhere near close to a yes on this question. I don't know what Matt's talking about. I think he's got a soft spot for Nunes, and that's fine. I appreciate that, but no, it's if you look at the cards that Nunes has headlined without at least, well, honestly, just headlined. UFC 224, UFC 250. UFC 224, I think, is the record for the lowest buys in the modern era before we went to ESPN. Yes. And UFC 250, again, estimates a little bit harder to get there, but, you know, a lot of reports on it were under 90,000 buys as well. And that was Nunes versus Spencer.
Exactly. Spencer.
Yeah. Okay. So point is, Amanda Nunes is not a draw. She's not. It sucks. I wish she was, but she's really not a draw unless she's fighting Chris Cyborg, who is probably more of the A side, unfortunately, in that category. And even then, you know, you don't headline a card with Amanda Nunes fighting somebody. If you're trying to sell pay-per-views, if you're trying to meet your broadcast obligations to ESPN by you have to have so many shows per year and they have to have title fights on pay-per-views, then by all means you put this in the headliner. But this is not a card that you put on there so that you can get pay-per-view buys. It just, Nunes isn't a draw. There's been nothing that's happened recently to show that she's more of a draw than she was before her last title defense. I don't see it happening. So you've got to put at least another 5-round co-main event spectacular, something else on there at a bare minimum. And even then, if that's the case, that's really going to be the main event, even if Nunes and Pena headline the card, technically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much going to have to completely agree with you there, Pat. Just when you let's look at UFC 224, just for example, you know, the Rocky Pennington fight, which that card, if we're going to go back to the myth of stat cards equaling, you know, great views, that one is a great example because that thing was loaded and turned out amazing. That was one of the best cards of that year, but unfortunately, just nobody went and checked it out because of, you know, the matchup with Nunes and Pennington. And, you know, you can attribute that more to maybe the Pennington side of things because everybody does know who does know about Amanda Nunes, how good that she is and exciting she can be. And when she has the right opponent in front of her, whether it be, I don't know about a Rousey, but Misha Tate, that was also UFC 200. Like, these are kind of interesting choices to choose from. But Valentina Shevchenko, that's one that, got people a little interested. Still, that wasn't a huge seller either. But I guess that what this ultimately devolves into, you guys, which is the main question here, and curious to hear Matt's thoughts on it. But I know Pat's answer already. But does this matchup show, Matt, how bad the division is? Is this fair to say?
First of all, Amanda Nunes headlined a million buy pay-per-view card.
Is this true?
So I don't know. Let's not forget that. Two of them, actually. Two of them, Patrick. I think this highlights more so her dominance versus how trash the division may be, quote unquote trash. I think the division is actually very competitive if you take Amanda Nunes out of the picture. Same way I used to say back if you took Demetrius Johnson out of the flyweight division, very competitive division. If the GOAT is not around, just ruling and just knocking off anybody that dares and comes and knocks on their door. So I don't think the division is bad. It's just she's beaten everybody already, so we have that perception. I mean, that's just where we're at, unfortunately.
All right, I'm gonna gloss over Matt's just absurd comment about Nunes headlining.
Are you saying I'm not saying facts because I just give you two facts?
Technically,
okay. I just wanted to check.
Yeah. Just again, that's exact. I'm not going to dive into it. It's anyway. It's too far of a rabbit hole. In terms of the division, this division is hot trash, dumpster fire, thrown into a bigger dumpster that is floating down a river that inevitably leads to a pile of dumpster fires. And when it comes to Matt's comments about, if you take Nunes out of the equation, it's more competitive. Sure, that's probably true. Yes, I would agree with that. But I think the sign of a division that is weaker is if someone is able to rise to such dominance that no one can even touch them. We're not talking about champions going out there and having competitive fights and, Nunes fighting a hard 5 rounds and winning every time or getting knockouts after, his stuff. I think a good example of that might be, Jose Aldo, right? In featherweight, where he took on, some killers and they were good fights where he still ultimately got the win, but he wasn't just breezing through people because the competition and the overall level was still high. Here, it's just literally, hey, guess what? You've gone 2-2 in your last 4, which I think is every one of her last 3 opponents, if I'm thinking about it. And we're going to go ahead and just give you to Nunes and good luck. Here's your extra paycheck and we'll see you, see you maybe after the first round, but probably not. And that's just kind of what it is. And I think it's because they just haven't built this division up. It's been dying for a while. And I feel like they had a sweet spot when Nunes came to be champion. Right around then, I think there was still some, other people that could at least challenge her or give her competitive fights. Since then, it's just kind of fallen off. People are going to 125. That's really what's happening.
Well, I agree with both of you guys. I've let you know that early on, and I know that's not the funnest answer to give here, but hey, it's true, man. It is true. You cannot deny Amanda Nunes's greatness for being a reason that, maybe things don't look as good, but at the same time, the division really is just not, especially the same compared to what it used to be. It is very, very, there's just less fighters in general. The UFC roster only holds about around 22. Last I checked, I'm sure they've added since I checked, but they just don't even have that many bodies, which is a sign of, there's not as much talent as there used to be in general. So I believe it's a mixture of both. Hate me for it if you want, but that's where I stand on the matter. All right, you guys, to wrap this up, we've gone on long enough about the nonsense happening at bantamweight. Just quick answers here. What percentage of a chance do you give Julianna Pena in this matchup. No long drawn out answers. Just give me the percentage.
15.
75. I said that just to look at Matt's face. No, I'll give her 5%. I'll give her a solid 5%.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. I don't think that Julianna Pena is definitely not the best, most likely contender to pull this off. But here we are anyways, going down to UFC 265, you guys. Let us know in the comments below if you're looking forward to this. Was this the fight to make? Should it have been somebody else? Yeah, just general thoughts. Let us know below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to come back for more. And yeah, we'll be here. Don't forget to tell a friend, tell 10 more friends. Let me take the Ant Walker since he's not here. And until UFC 265, you guys, get excited for Pena trash talk.
Somebody tell Ant. We haven't seen him in a while. Please tell Ant.